Hey, Samir. Uh, Thanks for taking the time to talk to me here at your beautiful facility,
Welcome,
right?
welcome.
National Australia Bank, second largest bank in
That's
Australia,
it. That's
right?
it. Yep.
It's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Thanks for being
Yeah,
here. Yeah. It's awesome.
and you live in a beautiful city,
Yeah.
Melbourne.
Welcome. Yeah. Right time of the year as well. It's
I'm waiting for
summer.
you to take me out, but yeah, another time.
Next time. Next time, maybe. Yeah. You should be taking me out.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's exciting is that I come from an IT pro
Yep.
background. I'm
Yep.
on the technical side of things.
We know you very well.
You're an IT pro, but
Thank you.
obviously
Yes.
you're managing people and a team. So let people know who you are, what you do, and
Yeah. Sure. Samir Younes. I have been working at the NAB for about 5 years now, and I manage the workplace engineering and mobility team. We do all things Intune, modern management, iOS, Android. We love modern management.
all right, all
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
So you touched upon iOS and Android.
Yes.
So we'll
Yep.
get back to on
Yeah.
that
Sure.
stuff too.
Yeah.
That's interesting. All right. So I know that you guys were early adopters of Windows 11. You guys went full swing
Yeah.
right off. What excites you about Windows
Yeah.
11?
So Windows 11 was that new shiny toy that everybody wanted, and for us, it was our line in the sand. That we drew that line in the sand where
Right.
no more hybrid join machines, no more dependency on group policy, no more importing ADMX templates or certifying hardware models. It was a really great opportunity for us to say no more,
Okay.
and we went full modern management, Intune only, um, autopilot. That was our carrot that we used for our internal
For
customers.
provisioning devices and
Yeah,
stuff.
and Windows
You're like,
11 and Windows 11 was that new shiny toy that we
right.
we wanted to
So
give everybody
was the adoption kind of challenging, or was pretty
easy.
straightforward for
Easy.
your end users as well?
From an end user point of view, we really improved that user experience, especially with things like autopilot,
Right.
Windows Hello for Business. These are the things that we weren't offering with Windows 10.
Okay.
So Windows 11 was that new thing where, hey, you want Windows 11? This is how we're going to give it to you. You can build from anywhere, build
Sure.
it from home.
Right. No matter where you are.
Yeah, no matter where you
So
are.
what are the tools that your team actually utilized in
Yep.
terms of getting to onboarding Windows 11, deploying Windows 11 and things like that? So I know you mentioned autopilot. That's a given, right? Pretty straightforward
Yes,
and stuff like that. But what
major
else
tool.
did you use? I mean, what are your management tools?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we took a bit of an approach to create a consumer-like experience where possible. So native tools, Defender
Okay.
was we didn't want to mess around with any security controls. App
Right.
Locker, we used the built-in security baselines in Intune, and obviously the biggest one that you probably know about is code management.
Sure. So you're
Yeah.
a config manager shop
so
as well,
so
right?
we feel that marriage between Intune and Config Manager is the sweet spot for us. So we co-manage using Intune for policies and settings,
Okay.
and using Config Manager for application delivery. We feel that Config Manager gives us the granular control that Intune doesn't quite give us.
For
So
applications.
for application deployment only, yeah. So
Okay.
that's we feel like it's the sweet spot for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're probably dealing with a lot of line of business apps, and
Yep.
that's
We have
probably
over
one
1,000
reason.
apps.
Over 1,000.
Yeah. And so it was literally going from I'll say legacy, but a traditional OSD environment where we have over 1,000 apps, as you mentioned. We have a very large packaging team here
Okay.
where we churn out over 30 apps probably a week.
Oh wow.
So the effort required to lift and basically
Lift and
repackage
shift
it, all that work.
It's
Whereas
challenging.
co-management,
Mhm.
nothing changed.
Nothing
One way,
changed.
same way.
Business
Yeah.
as usual and
Business
things
as
like
usual. And I suppose another great example
Mhm.
of how we've been able to utilize our new way of working, modern management, autopilot, Intune, co-management, all these wonderful things
that. Yeah.
is Windows 365.
Oh yes.
Yeah, so-
yes.
Literally, all we have to do was create two new groups,
Okay.
add users to these groups, and all that hard work
They
that
have
we did
Windows 365 automatically. And,
automatically,
Right.
all that modern management, everything, all that hard work that we did, moving from on-prem legacy to
Right.
cloud native, all just worked.
So you're probably using, apart from mergers and acquisitions and things like that, which
Yep.
is a fantastic use case of Windows 365, right? You can onboard, employees
Yes.
and from a different company,
At
whatever,
speed.
immediately,
Speed to
right?
market.
But
Yep.
you're probably also using it for situations where you have Windows 10 devices that are not upgradable. Maybe some,
Sure.
they're
Yep.
still phasing out, whatever.
Yep.
But you can give them Windows
You can.
365,
We have.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a great use case, but
Mhm.
another use case that we are using today are third-party contractors.
Sure.
Hey, someone wants to work for us for 3 months, rather than getting a machine out of
They
the
bring
box.
their own.
Yeah,
BYO.
bring your own.
Yeah.
Here's a Windows 365 machine. It's completely nabified, we call it. Away you go.
Okay.
Another one are developers who need high-spec machines
Exactly.
for a short period of time. Here's your license. Away you go.
Right. So instead of investing in a heavy duty
Yep.
system,
Yes.
a laptop, right, with 64 gigs of RAM or whatever, now
Yeah.
you're doing it all through the cloud.
That's
and
it. And there's a way with all that hardware management where, I give you a machine and you disappear, or managers don't have to manage who gets what.
right.
Literally, it's just a single license that we have to manage for
Okay.
that end user. It's
Oh,
easy.
this is great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've also obviously heard about Windows 365 frontline licensing, right? That's pretty awesome.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you have that use case in your organization
Not
yet.
quite yet. We are
Okay.
evaluating that particular license model for our teller machines, and that's probably the next iteration or next phase of Windows 365 is actually virtualizing the branch desktop that's physically in a NAP branch. At the moment, it's a physical
So you're talking
desktop.
about, so if I walk into a branch and you have,
Correct, yes.
tellers and I go up, hey, I want to, so those systems
So yeah,
right
now
there.
we are looking to virtualize those machines and using that
Fantastic.
frontline
Concept.
license model.
Yep.
Swapping in. It's a shared PC model.
Shared PC
Yeah.
model.
Yep. And I suppose it makes our patch management and vulnerability management so much easier. These are cloud desktops. Our ability to manage these machines is far superior than
Easier. And you can apply all your security settings. I mean,
yeah.
because obviously you're a financial institution, security is huge.
Massive.
It's massive.
Men
That's
in
your
black,
number
we
one
often call them
priority,
Men in
right?
black. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I heard
priority.
you mention earlier about Intune. When you adopted Intune, right? You started using security baselines, right? That's built in, things like that, ready to go. Here's what we recommend for
Yes.
settings.
Yes. In IT, we always have this need to pull levers and click buttons and mess around with everything, right?
Right.
We took a very different approach with Win 11. We don't want to install any bloatware, so we use all the native controls
Right.
and settings that came out of the box.
So you started with
Baseline.
that, and then you
And then we
kind of
tweaked.
tweaked
Yep.
it, right?
100%.
So
yeah.
obviously you're doing conditional access, BitLocker for sure.
Of course. Yes.
Windows
Yeah.
Hello for Business.
Windows 11 for Business
Right.
has been an absolute game changer for us. Yeah.
So is that something you're moving away from, like, because at Microsoft, I don't even know what my password is, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that happens.
You don't even need to,
That's
right?
happening here
With
a lot now.
2FA and
Yes.
Windows Hello and
100%.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is that the concept you guys are doing?
Yeah,
here?
totally. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So with Win 11, moving to Intune, cloud native,
Mm-hmm.
Windows Hello for Business was another lever, another tool, another carrot that I was trying to explain before to move to Win 11.
Moving to, so two different branches. One is Windows 11 and one is Intune, right?
Yeah.
What were there any challenges, and what were they that you faced, and how did you
So
figure out?
So yeah, good question. Lots of challenges.
Sure.
Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, it was that great opportunity to draw that line in the sand. We basically threw everything away with Win 10. Group policy. That's probably the most fundamental.
Come on, you love group policies.
No, I don't. Not anymore. Not anymore. Intune's definitely the way to go. So once upon a time, I was definitely a group policy fanboy. But
Right.
that's probably the biggest change from an IT pro point
Yeah,
of view
yeah.
is moving away from group policy to Intune.
Intune policies, yeah.
Intune policies, settings catalog.
Yep.
It's better. I feel like it's far superior now
Yes.
as a technology, and that we no longer have that dependency on on-prem services, domain join,
Right.
ADMX templates, etc., etc. With Win 11, we started again. And to your point,
From scratch.
from scratch.
Right.
From scratch. I know that there were some amazing tools with Group Policy Analyzer
Yes.
that's built into Intune, but we felt that starting again, and it's for us. I mean, at
I
the time,
love that mindset because I've spoken to some IT pros and things like that.
yeah, it's
And
daunting.
one of the things that they want to do is like they want to port over
Yeah,
legacy settings and
Yes.
stuff like that because they're used to it,
Yeah.
right? But it's not necessary anymore. It's too much.
too much.
So you like figure out what you need. Let's say you need to set up a printing policy. Go configure that.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
One
Yes.
step at a time. The other issue about group policies that happens in organizations is that the churn from IT pros, right? Maybe you're here 5 years, and you're
Yeah.
like, hey, you're moving
Yeah.
on. You set up probably about
Yeah.
100 or 200 policies. A new person comes in, they're like, what are these policies? I'm
Yeah.
not sure. You know what? I better not touch
better
it.
not touch
I
it.
better add another
Yeah,
200 and so on, right?
Everyone's too scared to do that. That's the beauty about Intune. I mean, in some way, that is a nice thing about group policy. You can have a hierarchy, and
Sure.
you can have multiple. Intune's a lot flatter. We hope that it never gets to that messy state again, where you have settings for the sake of settings, and you're sitting there waiting for your machine to log in, processing GPO after GPO after GPO. So
Sure.
that's all. Hopefully, that's no longer
So
a
you're a
problem.
big fan of Intune, obviously.
massive, yeah.
Yes, massive.
Yeah.
What about Windows 11? Big fan as well?
Of course.
You love the features?
Yes.
What's your favorite feature?
Oh, okay. So latest, I mean, there's so many new features, but the latest new feature that I love is the new Notepad.
Oh,
Yes. So
the tabs.
the tabs, not just the tabs, because I'm a sucker for Notepad, and I just put everything in Notepad.
Sure.
But now it saves your last.
It saves.
It
You don't
saves.
lose it.
Don't lose a thing.
Yes.
So
Yes.
now
yes,
I'm actually even lazier than I used to be.
Yes.
I used to use OneNote. Don't need it anymore.
Yes.
Notepad.
I'm a big fan of OneNote. But I used to
Notepad.
use a third-party
Yep.
Notepad, right?
Yes.
And for longest time,
Sure.
because it did what Notepad does now, right?
Yes.
And I love it. You put a bunch of things in there.
Yeah.
If it shuts down or,
Yep.
or reboots, it comes back. It's got the tabs
Yes.
and things like
That's
that.
amazing. Yeah.
What about your IT team? What are the features that they like from an IT perspective or technical engineering perspective?
One that we take for granted, and we used to use a third-party app for that exact
Yes.
that exact reason. Yeah,
Yes.
being able to snap
Layouts.
snap layout. That's a nice
That's
new
beautiful.
Win 11 feature.
Yes. You can have your PowerShell in one little
Yes,
corner.
the new
and
terminal.
new
as well.
terminal.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. It's true.
So we're probably about halfway now in the bank
Mm-hmm.
with Win 11. To quote my colleague John Disco, who would say, "Let's not put lipstick on the pig."
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
but it's
yep,
not-
yep.
maybe that's an Aussie
No,
expression.
it's good.
So no in-place upgrades for us.
So no in-place upgrades.
No in-place upgrades. We are completely moving away from hybrid join machines,
Okay.
Entra ID only, autopilot builds. I feel like it's kind of cheating if you perform an in-place upgrade. So,
So the reason is another reason not to do in-place upgrades are fine for
Sure.
customers that just like, hey,
yes, if
I'm
you
not
want to get
ready
on
yet,
Win 11,
we still want to
do
stay in
it.
a hybrid.
Go for it.
It's fine.
Big-
But there's some features that are not turned on
Yep.
by default
Yep.
when you do IPUs, right?
Yes.
So having a brand new one, you get
Neater.
all your security
Oh,
features turned on.
Very
You're
neat.
ready to go. You're
Yep.
much more secured. Yeah.
And with, I suppose, with the other, once upon a time, we probably couldn't even consider doing that as an option. But with autopilot and the ability to build from anywhere,
Sure.
the fact that we don't have that dependency on on-prem services, or
Yeah.
we literally send a machine home to a new user.
Right.
They take it out of the box, away they go.
Away to go. I love that mindset. Like, hey, why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah.
Let's go. So what is the process here? So you're an IT department. Obviously, you did a gradual rollout, probably, right, in phases and stuff like
Yes.
that. And you still probably have
Still going.
some devices that
Yes.
need to be. So how's that process? So if I was an end user
Yep.
working here and I got a Windows 10, is it something like I put a request in,
Yes.
or is this?
Well, so if you're a new user today, you won't get Windows 10. No
Okay.
more Windows 10.
Okay,
Windows 11 was that line in the sand where we said,
that's it. That's all.
No more. Any break fix, any refreshes, any new stuff, any change of stuff,
Mhm.
here's your Windows 11 device.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and then we have a refresh cycle where we upgrade, replace physical 10,000 machines a year,
10,000.
10,000 machines a year, and they're all Windows 11.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you're pretty busy then.
We're busy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a
10,000
big
is not
bank.
you're a big bank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot, and then there's a large churn. So I will say we're more than halfway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Application compatibility. So I know I talked to you earlier. You had zero application compatibility for Windows 11.
Zero issues.
Zero issues.
Zero issues.
Even though you have over 1,000
So-
line of business apps
so-
and things like that.
Correct.
And
No
you-
issues.
Right. And you didn't need to leverage Microsoft's
No.
app solutions like
We did
TestBase
not.
and Aperture.
We had the occasional third-party vendor who would claim, I'll
Okay.
say the word claim, that they were not Windows 11 compatible,
But it was.
But it was. Yeah.
One of the things that
Yeah.
I hear about from organizations
Mm.
that are maybe like, taking their time and
Sure.
things like that, right? About moving, it's usually about applications. It's our applications, we're worried about it. But, we are claiming, Microsoft is claiming, I think it's like 99.7%
Yeah.
application
Totally agree with
compatibility.
that. Yeah.
If it's not, we have the solutions to help you out
Totally.
with that, right?
Yep. We had the same problem. We faced into the same problems with internal application teams,
Right.
claiming that.
Hold on.
Yeah, hey, we need to go through this whole life cycle, but that we just tested it on their behalf.
Yeah.
We took control in most cases. We have an amazing application team who would assist them where possible,
Okay.
and we basically forced their hand.
Okay. So, and then
Yeah.
the other part of applications, you're still using Config Manager to build, deploy,
Package and deploy.
update,
Yes.
right? And all
Love
that stuff.
Config Manager.
What's holding you back in porting those over into Intune?
I think we can tell my feeling. You can hear my feelings or my love for Config Manager. Config Manager for application delivery, package and deployment.
Okay.
And Intune is that perfect synergy, perfect match. We feel that Config Manager has the granularity and control and reporting that
Okay.
that
reporting.
Intune doesn't quite give us. As you mentioned security earlier, we call them the men in black, right?
Sure.
They need patch levels, vulnerability management, reporting within hours, within minutes. We feel that Config Manager, it's a beast of a product.
So
as
you
know,
feel like you have much more better control
100% with Config
in
Manager.
your
Yeah.
okay.
Totally.
So have you looked into Windows Update for Business or Auto Patch?
Yeah.
Those, are you testing them out?
We are testing actually the new driver deployment from Intune,
Sure.
driver management, I think it's called.
Right.
It's actually working very well for us.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, we are currently using our vendor's third-party firmware and driver deployment tool,
Okay.
but we are looking to get rid of that and move to Intune
For drivers and firmware.
for drivers and firmware. Actually, and it's actually a very neat user experience where it looks like a Windows update,
Yeah.
but it's installing a firmware update. So
Right.
that is something that we are planning in the near future. Our patch management is still coming from Config Manager
Config Manager. Okay.
for those reasons that I mentioned earlier around
Sure.
reporting,
Yeah.
primarily around reporting.
Sure. I can understand because I
reporting
used to be a
services. Yeah,
long-time
yeah.
Config
Of course,
Manager
yeah,
admin.
Of course, yes.
I managed thousands
Yes.
of devices
Yeah,
with
you know what I'm talking about
patching.
then.
I know
Yeah.
what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
Okay, let's move a little bit into like the latest and greatest that you hear these days, right? Like especially from Ignite and stuff.
Yeah.
Copilot, AI.
Yeah, awesome.
right?
Yeah,
What are your thoughts? What do
we
you
love it.
Yeah, what do you
Hopefully it won't make me redundant. No, so we're testing the waters. We're in POC phase with Copilot for Edge and Copilot for Windows as well. Feedback's been amazing.
Okay.
We're also looking to evaluate Copilot for Intune. We're hoping that the telemetry that we can provide could help us.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's early days for us.
Early days.
Yeah.
So, and also my understanding is that you are also testing out Security Copilot, right?
Sure. Yes. Early
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 days.
days. Yeah.
Right.
So, as you probably know,
Baby
there's
steps.
there's a lot of telemetry and logs that are currently being pumped into Defender,
Mm-hmm.
and we are hoping to leverage Copilot just for vulnerability management and alerting anything that we don't see.
Right.
We're actually moving away.
Logs and things like
A
that.
huge amount. We're also moving away from one of our security control vendors.
Okay.
Moving to Defender.
Okay.
And then in the near future, and we are looking to and hoping that Copilot will
Right.
assist us with, especially with our data loss team.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know you're still in the early stages,
Early
but you're
stages.
testing it out and
Yes.
stuff. So far, the results have been good.
Awesome.
The experience has been good.
Yeah, it's been great.
Okay.
Just like you're like a consumer.
Sure.
Like experience. Yeah, it's been good. So far, so good.
But for your IT,
It's for
right?
you.
Your
Yeah. Early days. Early days. I
Early days.
can't talk to it too much. I can't talk to it.
Exactly. No,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
get
yeah.
it. I get it.
Yeah.
So what else can we talk about? What about, so you're now doing hybrid Azure AD join, you're doing all modern management,
Yes.
Intune.
There's a large acquisition for the bank where we had to enroll over 800 staff over a couple of days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was a large acquisition that Windows, and this is fairly new when Windows 11 was being used by workplace teams and any kind of break fix new user was getting Windows 11. This was the first major cohort of staff. We just said, okay, let's what's stopping us from going Windows 11 using autopilot? So that's exactly what we did. We enrolled, as I said, over 850 staff.
Within 2 days.
Within 2 days. And we broke all NAB records, enrolling, building machines, something that we could never have done using traditional OSD.
Oh, there's no way.
No way. We literally they were walking into a room, we were pulling their machine out of the box, obviously enrolled into autopilot.
Sure.
Here's your new machine, here's your new credentials, welcome to NAB, away you go.
Away
and then
you
within
go.
an hour or two, they had a fully working, nabified,
completely secured. They got
everything.
the right access they need.
Yeah.
Because this, even eight employees, new employees would have taken a week.
Yeah.
The traditional OSD ways and stuff like that, right? So that's
and that's probably been the biggest change, right? That would ordinarily have been done by IT staff. They're literally taking it away, hitting S12 and doing what they're going to do.
That's much more workload on the IT staff when they can now focus on other things.
Yes,
right?
Exactly right.
You're improving policies. You're improving security.
Yeah, and the end user can enroll themselves.
Sure.
Yeah.
What else from your IT perspective, your team and all that? What's the vision going forward? What do you where do you see Microsoft is going to help you?
Yeah, so continuing our Win 11 journey, modern management for the entire fleet, which is probably, I would say we're almost there. Windows 365 is for me personally is probably the biggest thing that potentially might disrupt the way we do things.
In what way?
Well, the ability to have a virtual or cloud PC rather anywhere in the world. So that's probably one point of difference, that we are using the Microsoft hosted network, Windows 365. We have staff in India, Vietnam, Singapore.
Globally, yep.
Anywhere. The machine's literally next to them. So I feel like that is one of the big changes that will disrupt, I suppose. I'll use that phrase.
Right, disrupt in a good way.
Of course.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
Totally. Yeah.
It's a game changer completely.
We're now talking about thin clients again.
Yes.
We're going back to the future, right?
Yes.
Where we get a simple dumb terminal.
Yes.
Boot your cloud PC boot, and away
That's
we
it.
go. Yeah.
And you can do that now with Windows 365 boot, right? I mean,
exactly. Yes.
Immediately.
So we feel like that
takes you right in.
That's probably the next big thing. Copilot.
Okay.
Massive.
Copilot.
We haven't even scratched the surface.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
There's so much more coming in this space.
Yeah.
And
we're pretty excited by that. Yeah.
Potential is just endless. Oh my God. Like I was talking to Andrew about Copilot. He said the best feature is the analysis of the data that's coming in.
Yeah.
Right? Like logs and vulnerabilities and
it's amazing.
And you can't even hire enough IT staff to even look at the logs per day, right?
Yeah.
And just phenomenal.
Yes.
Another thing I want to touch upon, maybe you're not doing this. What about kiosks? Like kiosk devices, right? So you got customers coming in, there might be like a little terminal, you may have like signs and things like that. What do you
you can probably see them around here, right?
Right, I've seen a lot of them.
branches. You read my mind, right? So
Windows 11?
Of course.
Yes.
Of course,
Intune.
Windows 11 Intune. So that's a service that we use. So kiosk boards, and you walk into a NAB branch, and you have an iPad or an iOS device to do internet banking, all in kiosk mode, all Intune managed.
No problem.
Easy. So
Okay.
they actually were doing that way before Windows 11.
Okay. Wow.
Intune managed. Well, Windows 10 back in the day, but now they're
Now it's
Windows
all
11.
Windows 11 and Intune managing. All the fun
That was
stuff.
actually our foot into Intune.
Okay.
Foot in the door way before Windows.
Fantastic.
That was actually, and then obviously iOS devices and Android devices, all Intune managed, MAM controlled for all our applications, and MDM for those
Sure.
for those bankers that need full control of their device.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Any parting words, last words for organizations that are still hesitating, or IT pros, IT teams? Like, hey, what's your best advice?
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. Don't let that hard work stop you. It's worth it. It's worth it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great words. Thank you, Samir.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Awesome.
we'll be in touch.
Thank you.